would like to welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us, attorney Eric Stern. He's a Salon contributor, and he wrote a piece for Salon recently about the Fox News lie machine and, well, fact-checking the Fox News lie machine. Eric, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So let's get right to it. You had a Salon piece about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, where you basically looked into a segment that Sean Hannity had on Fox News, where basically he looked into he spoke with 6 different people who claim that Obamacare has destroyed their lives because they are not able to keep their health care plan, and now they are flat out screwed.
Correct. I guess I wrote a piece about, it was exactly right. He had a bunch of guests on, and then basically what he said had happened to them had not really happened to them. So it was sort of an entirely fraudulent case made by Sean Hannity, and Fox News does it all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's what you did here is really important, and I want to go through each of these people with you. I think it's important now to do this before these lies that Fox News pushes about Obamacare gets embedded into the mainstream. People will continue to hear these things unless they are debunked now, and this will become what most people who aren't able to tune into the news or be transfixed on what's going on as much as people in the news industry or the media industry are able to, and they'll hear these things and they'll just sooner or later just come to accept it as truth if things aren't done like what you did here with fact checking it.
Well, I mean, Fox News doesn't really have any interest in fact-checking. That's not what they're about. They're essentially a Republican TV channel, and they try to give they're basically just sort of delivering the Republican line. And so I don't know that I ever really expected them to fact-check themselves or to make any real due diligence in when they bring on guests. But I figured that there's a lot of people out there that might not truly understand the nature of a lot of the coverage on Fox, and so. And by the way, I was really just curious more than anything else. So when I saw that on Hannity, I just called these folks to ask them because I was legitimately interested if, in fact, they might have problems with Obamacare. And by the way, there are problems with Obamacare, and there will be people that have legitimate trouble with the health care reform. And I think it's important that both sides be told.
So let's get right to it. Let's get right to the first person you spoke with, Paul Cox of North Carolina. He's the one who had a business with only a few employees, less than the 49 employees that are necessary for Obamacare to have an effect on your business. So what happened when you spoke with him?
Right. Well, he came on Hannity's show to say that Obamacare was destroying his life because his business was having to cut back its workforce because of it. But that could only even if that were the case for some businesses, it would only be businesses with 50 employees or more, because the law exempts any businesses of any smaller size than that. And he only had 4 employees when I called him and talked to him and asked him how many workers he had. He told me he had 4 workers. So it's really just basically there's no chance that the small business mandate has any application to him. So, again, it was one of these things where I don't know how you end up on a show like that if the producers are at least asking some basic questions about the guests that they're going to have on.
So when you spoke with him, what was his reaction to you explaining to him that Obamacare will have no effect?
He sort of talked to me for about a minute and then hung up on me when I sort of asked him a few probing questions, and it was clear that he didn't feel comfortable talking to me. So, and then the other guests I spoke to, they got these cancellation letters or these termination letters that basically say that your policy is being terminated and it's going to be replaced with a new one that's ACA compliant, and there may be a rate change, and there may be a doctor network change as well, and you're going to get new features to health plan. And those guys got those letters and immediately decided that was necessarily a negative thing, and it meant that Obamacare was a disaster. But the fact is that I went and after I spoke to those people, I went on the exchange and I found policies for them where they would each save thousands of dollars a year. And so, you know, it was one of these things where they were sort of getting these letters and just became up in arms about it, but they weren't really sort of doing basic research to try to see how the actual ACA would affect them. And in fact, there are policies available for them on the exchange. So really, again, it was sort of a situation where some guests, you know, who had legitimate concerns were invited on a Fox show, and Hannity was describing their situations as proof that Obamacare is a nightmare and a train wreck and a failure. But it's absolutely, he was just making that up 100%.
Mm-hmm. So, but when you spoke with these next people, did they also, for example, there was one Allison Denigis. Did she have the same reaction as the first? Because it seems to me that I do believe that there's people out there who are so into this Fox News propaganda machine that they believe it's truth, and they come on this show. They refuse to even look at Obamacare because of what they've been told by Fox, and they come on this show legitimately worried about their health care. I mean, it seems like maybe the first guy you spoke with, it sounds like he knew what he was doing in terms of, you know, he knew that it wouldn't really affect him, and he went on Fox News in terms of, but these other
I mean, look, this is part of the problem is that the Tea Party Partiers have this sense of panic about them that the world is ending because of the Affordable Care Act, and then they essentially try to say that because they are so panicked, that is proof that the Affordable Care Act is not working. I mean, that was sort of the logic implicit in what Hannity was doing, and they've done it, and Fox does it all the time. They've done it all the time, things like this, and it's kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy. And, you know, you can't go running out and build a bomb shelter and start, you know, filling your bathtub with water because you think the Affordable Care Act is destroying society, and then go on a show and say that you are proof that the Affordable Care Act is destroying society. You know, it's just facts. You know, facts have not really governed the debate on this issue, and it's unfortunate because there is a real important factual discussion to be had about the Affordable Care Act. There are tremendous benefits, some problems, and a lot of questions that we don't really know. And that's the other problem, is that you know, some of what Fox News claims are these nightmare scenarios with Obamacare. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. You know, some of them may ultimately prove true, but you can't report on them now. You have to wait until they actually happen, and wait till the thing is implemented before you actually start covering, you know, news. You can't make news up and cover it. You got to wait for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. I just want to get to this last the last couple you spoke to, Robbie and Tina Robinson, where Robbie said he was self-employed Christian youth motivational speaker, and what baffles me about this one is that. I mean, I think it's pretty hard to argue it in any way, shape, or form that people who are self-employed, freelancers, they have the most to gain in terms of Obamacare. I mean, it literally is it's saving people from having to be shackled to a place of employment in order to have affordable health care.
That's right. In other words, people like Robbie and Tina, they are actually really, really the target population for Obamacare, and they're now paying about $10,000 to buy a policy on the market, and on the exchange they will do much better. They could save, you know, thousands of dollars a year, and so they hadn't, and so they were on Hannity talking about how this nightmare because they got a letter saying that their plan was going to be, you know, terminated and replaced with a new one that was ACA compliant. And what they were saying was that, you know, and Robbie and Tina's beef was they were saying, well, we're being forced to have all these features in our new plan that we don't have now, and we don't need them. Things like maternity care. We have kids that are grown, and we're not going to have any more children. But the problem is that even with those new features, they can go onto the exchange and get a plan which is several $1,000s less than they now pay. They now pay $10,000 a year just to insure the two of them. I mean, that's almost it's almost an unaffordable expense for your average, you know, couple that has a small business.
Yeah.
So they are the people that Obamacare is supposed to help. And when I asked them if they had shopped at all on the exchange, they said no, and they don't intend to because they just are philosophically opposed to Obamacare. Well, you know, that's their right, but you have to. I don't think you can go on and claim that Obamacare has destroyed your life if you haven't even
Try it.
looked
Even
to see
looked,
what
yeah.
the policies will cost.
And the thing is, you even point out that what you use to check on these three families, to fact check these three families, find out how much they could possibly pay on Obamacare. You don't even have to sign up for Obamacare to find out. There's a calculator online.
No, that's right. Actually, the Kaiser Family Foundation has had a website up for months. It worked perfectly, several months, and that has allowed you to look at what the policies cost. And now, and then since about 2 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, you've had the exchange has been up, and even though it's been hard to sign up and the website has not worked well, and there's no excuse for that, you could still see what the policies will cost. So basically, anybody doing just a small amount of research has been able to at least shop and get a quote. And by the way, I will say that there are people in America, as I understand it, that actually are not going to save money on the exchange. So there are some people out there who might end up getting a bad deal because of the state that they live in, particularly people in rural places. So again, it's okay. I don't understand when Fox News wants to point out problems with Obamacare. I don't understand why they have to make them up.
Yeah,
and I think the answer is that they're so used to just dumbing down their coverage and just creating things out of thin air, and sort of in this dumb, stupid kind of way they're so used to it that it becomes a habit, and they just become lazy and they don't even bother doing basic research.
Another interesting thing to point out too, just building on that, is when have you ever heard Fox News cover problems with the healthcare industry before Obamacare? When
well, of course,
exactly.
that's a very good point. I mean, that's right. And by the way, one of a highly legitimate criticism of Obamacare is that it basically creates 30 million new customers for two industries, the insurance industry and the healthcare industry, that are basically already the most profitable industries in America. And now you have 30 million new people with money chasing the products. So what is that going to mean? How does that control costs? If anything, it would make the prices go up. And by the way, the healthcare industry and a good deal of the so-called healthcare industrial complex, as it's often been called, actually supported the president and supported the Democrats as they were moving Obamacare through, because they thought all in all it would be good for business.
Oh, of course.
And you won't hear Fox talk about that. The reason that Fox doesn't talk about that is that conflicts them. In other words, they don't want to be in a populist mode where they have to say that maybe, for them, if a major corporate sector is making profits, that's a good thing in the Fox world, and you can't criticize it. So in a way, they're in a kind of an intellectual conundrum there.
Hey, Eric, Michael Brooks here. I want to.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, how you doing? I think what's interesting about this, though, is what you're saying in terms of Fox having a very clear agenda, and this is the segment that you uncovered was kind of like the perfect distillation of Fox, right? You get basically a group of Fox viewers to come on Fox to repeat what they watch on Fox every day. So it's kind of like, there's a lot of sort of hall of mirrors here. But I think what's important about this, too, is not like you said. I mean, this is nothing new for Fox. This is what Fox does. But as we look at the kind of bumpy rollout of the ACA, and I agree that the glitches in the website are one thing, people having their plans change are another. But then you kind of go to the mainstream media, and you look at something like, I think of Al Gore, the notion that he said he invented the internet. That started as a kind of right-wing talking point, and it was so irresistible to the press because it fit with their narrative of Al Gore. And now you're in a similar situation where even from a mainstream press point of view, not ideologically, but hey, who wants to chase down all this stuff? Much better to talk to some woman in Florida who's like, oh my God, the world is collapsing on me. So I think what I'm wondering is how quick is this transition now with the kind of Fox spin around some of these stories to the mainstream narrative about people having the world collapse on them and that connection?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. I think that what will happen is that in the short term, you just don't know. But in the long term, this Obamacare will be what it will be, and the judgment, the proof will be in the pudding. and we will see what happens. And I think it will be held accountable for successes and failures. And you'll always have some kind of that sort of echo chamber on the right where millions of people just listen to right-wing media and don't want to know the truth. They just want to sort of hear something. They want to turn on the radio so that they can become outraged about something. But ultimately, I think the facts will eventually rule. And by the way, the facts are governing now in to a certain degree. I mean, yes, Fox fraudulates coverage, but the truth is that the president has struggled with this thing because of the website. Okay. And I think people are sort of, Americans are circumspect as they should be, and I think, people are waiting to see what happens.
I do agree with you that in the long term, I think people are going to end up seeing how it's working out, how the healthcare system it's working out. They're able to get healthcare for an affordable price, and I do think in the long term, I agree with you. But in the short term, I am seeing it already. Actually, we're seeing. I'm looking at right in front of me right now. There's a piece in the Wall Street Journal about a woman with cancer who lost her health insurance. There's a piece. There was a piece on CNBC where they spoke to a woman who lost her health insurance. And then you see it, I believe CNN talked to a woman in Florida who lost their health insurance. And in each case, they didn't mention why they lost it. They didn't do what you did and go ahead and say, well, you know what, on Obamacare, you can find these plans that are affordable, even better, plans that are better than the one you had and for cheaper too. But they're not doing that. And what you're seeing, I do think, for people who maybe aren't so entrenched in the news and the daily news and the media, the people who just turn on their TV and they see on CNBC, they see on CNN, they're reading the Wall Street Journal.
So are you telling me that CNN didn't ask the question in that report of the woman? They didn't ask how she would. They didn't look and see how she would do if she went to buy a policy on the exchange.
They did not, and in fact, in that specific case, I think that was one where the reason she would actually be paying more is because Florida, she lives in Florida, and she was going to lose out on because they won't expand their Medicare.
Oh, I see.
I see. But they didn't even mention why that is.
I think the point is just that and I agree with you that obviously places like CNN are going to be much more responsible, but it's just that there's the agenda with Fox, and then there's always just the appeal of the human interest angle to these stories, which are important. And if they lead to what you did, we'll learn more. But if they don't, there's going to be a lot of kind of myths that circle around healthcare, even including, as an example, like maybe somebody did get put in a bad situation. It's because a Republican governor didn't take a Medicaid expansion. That's not in the public discourse really at all right now. So I'm just wondering, how do we kind of contend with the broader landscape of how this is covered as a human interest angle?
You know what? Fox News will be around or something like it will be around forever because there's a portion of the population that is that sort of gobbles up the red meat that places like Fox News offer, and they're going to be angry about one thing or another, whether it's immigrants or Obamacare or whatever else.
Yeah.
And you do your best. You do your best. You hope the consumers, understand fact from fiction, and you do what you guys do, which is at least try to have a discussion on the air, that involves facts and questions and sort of a basic scientific method of just asking questions and trying to search for the reality. And beyond that, it's society. There'll always be misinformation because we have the First Amendment, and that's just it comes with the territory.
Eric Stern, contributor for Salon, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I really want to thank you for writing this piece because I haven't really seen this before your piece, and now I'm looking at people fact-checking those same CNBC, CNN, Wall Street Journal articles that I have in front of me where they're doing the same thing Fox News did, just putting it out there that someone lost their insurance, don't explain why, don't explain what they can do, don't explain how much they could save, what better coverage they could get. And now in front of me I'm seeing the LA Times, they are debunking the CNBC one, and they're finding out that this woman will actually get more comprehensive coverage for a plan that she will pay little to nothing for her doctor visits, just for a little bit more monthly. And then we have another plan here where that person who was kicked off of Obamacare who was kicked off of their health care because of and they had cancer. It turns out it wasn't because of Obamacare. It was fact checked by Think Progress that she lost her insurance because her insurance company no longer found it profitable to be in the individual healthcare market, so they're just getting out of that completely. So I think we're going to see.
So you're saying that because of my piece that some journalism has actually broken out. I'm
I
flattered.
do think there are people who are taking what you did, because your piece got around. It was really a big
your piece was. I think it was part of important of kind of setting a discussion of the first wave was all of these kind of, oh my God, this is a disaster stories, and then people started kicking the tires a little bit of those narratives, and like you say, it's a lot more complicated than it was initially.
All right, well, I'm going to be writing a follow-up, and I hope you guys will enjoy it, and I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it should be interesting, and I don't know when I'm going to have time to do it, but I'll do it soon.
All right,
Well,
great.
That sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining
All
us,
right.
Rick.
All right, have a good one.